You're listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.
It's Thursday, May 14. I'd like to share some thoughts about CEOs. Imagine waking up to find your global supply chain frozen, your macroeconomic forecasts upended, and, well, the very software running your company prone to hallucinations.
Yeah, that is a terrifying morning for any executive.
Right. Today we are cutting through the noise. We're doing a deep dive into 4 converging challenges that require immediate boardroom attention and, what you actually need to do about them.
We should really start with the most immediate operational threat, which is the impending Samsung electronics strike.
Because it is not just a local labor dispute anymore, is it?
No, not at all. It is rapidly escalating into a global supply chain crisis.
Let's look at the physical reality here. Shutting down a semiconductor fab, it's not like unplugging a server farm, right? You can't just flip a switch to resume operations.
Exactly. The precision required in those clean rooms is just hard to overstate. A sudden production halt scraps all the wafers currently in process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we are talking an estimated 22,000 wafers a day.
That has to be astronomically expensive.
It is. That translates to a daily loss of 1 trillion won, which is roughly 714 million US dollars.
Wait, over $700 million a day.
Every single day. And rebuilding that delicate clean room equilibrium takes at least 2 weeks. So even a short strike creates this massive production crater.
And this brings in a fascinating dynamic that's really unique to Korea. Because Samsung is a cable, right?
Yes, one of the biggest.
Right, a massive family-controlled conglomerate. And they've historically maintained incredibly tight control over labor relations.
They have. And if negotiations fail before May 21, the government has an absolute last resort.
The Emergency Labor Adjustment Authority.
Exactly. It is a rare legal power allowing them to suspend strikes for 30 days.
But if you're on a board, you can't just sit around hoping for a government bailout.
Right, you really can't. If you rely on these components, you have to update your supply chain resilience plans today.
Because you're facing a potential gap in DRAM and HBM.
Right, those high-bandwidth memory chips that essentially act as the brains for global AI processing. A 2 to 6 week gap there. Standard inventory buffers just will not cover a shock that deep.
And a strike of this scale doesn't just hit Samsung. It threatens the entire national economy.
Which ties right into the recent macroeconomic data. The Korea Development Institute, or KDI, just upgraded Korea's 2026 GDP growth to 2.5%.
Right, but they explicitly flagged this strike as an unquantified downside risk, didn't they?
They did. They went out of their way to highlight it. And they also sent a very clear signal to the market to brace for potential Bank of Korea interest rate hikes.
So for CFOs, that means modeling rising Korean won borrowing costs for the second half of 2026.
Yes, but you also have to weigh that against Korea's current account surplus that is forecast to double to 239 billion US dollars.
Okay, so that massive surplus acts as a cushion.
Exactly. You need to factor in reduced won depreciation risk when you're modeling your currency exposure.
Now, while assessing all that macro stability, executives also need to look past some accounting illusions in energy input costs.
Oh, you are talking about the recent earnings reports.
Yeah, on paper, SK Innovation and GS Caltex just posted these extraordinary first quarter profits. GS Caltex alone hit an operating profit of 1.64 trillion won.
Which is about 1.17 billion US dollars.
Right, massive numbers. But they're somewhat deceptive, aren't they?
Extremely. Those numbers look triumphant, but 60% of those profits are simply temporary inventory gains.
Is that what they call the lagging effect?
Yes, the lagging effect.
Yeah.
You purchase crude oil when it is cheap, you process it over several months, and you just happen to sell it right when market prices spike.
So it is essentially an accounting mirage.
Pretty much. If you are on a board, you cannot mistake that temporary price momentum for permanent operational brilliance.
Especially since management guidance is already warning of a reversal in the second half of the year.
Precisely. You do not revise your long-term capital expenditure plans based on a lucky quarter.
Fair point. Now, as the limits of those market-driven margins become clear in energy, the Korean government is stepping in elsewhere.
Right. They are aggressively shielding heavy industry. President Lee just announced a massive ecosystem strategy for Shipbuilding.
Which involves some really fascinating policy mechanics, like the RG guarantee.
The refund guarantee, yeah.
Right. When ship owners make massive advance payments, the government will now share the risk with banks in case the shipyard fails.
And there's also the new direct pay mechanism.
That's the one handing out actual cash subsidies for loss-making firms, right, instead of tax credits.
Exactly, because tax credits are completely useless if you aren't turning a profit.
Makes sense. So what is the takeaway for suppliers there?
Well, if you are a mid-sized industrial supplier, your strategic imperative is clear. You must position your company as an anchor within this specific shipbuilding ecosystem.
To capture those direct cash subsidies.
Exactly.
So managing this whole tangled web of supply shocks, subsidies, and macro shifts, it requires immense processing power.
Which brings us to enterprise software.
Right. SAP's Sapphire 2026 event just introduced their autonomous enterprise architecture.
It is a major shift. They are embedding Anthropic's Claude and Nvidia's NIM agent blueprint into their core software.
But I have to push back here. General AI is still only about 80% accurate.
That is a very valid concern.
I mean, isn't it incredibly dangerous to let an AI hallucinate during mission-critical payroll or, supply chain execution?
It is terrifying. But that is exactly why SAP isn't just plugging in a basic chatbot.
Okay, so how are they mitigating that?
They are grounding the AI in 50 years of proprietary ERP data, the central nervous system of corporate operations.
Okay.
And they are using NVIDIA's architecture specifically as a security layer. It ensures ironclad action audit logs.
So the C-suite has to stop viewing enterprise AI as just an IT upgrade.
Exactly. It is now a rigid compliance and audit architecture issue.
It really makes you wonder, will the mandatory transition to these AI-enabled systems eventually allow global enterprises to dynamically route around physical supply shocks?
Like the Samsung strike.
Yeah, like adapting before human managers even realize what is happening.
That is the ultimate goal and the ultimate challenge.
That's today's AI Prism, CEOs. This episode was produced with AI assistance based on Seoul Economic Daily reporting and reviewed by a human editor. AI Prism is a Juan Ifro award-winning series. We'll be back tomorrow.
You've been listening to AI Prism from Seoul Economic Daily.